Hey everybody, what's up? This is Startup Survival. I am filming this special knife comparison video from Mexico. I'm down here for another week and a half, something like that. And I only have a limited supply of blades down here, but I do have more time. So therefore I'm able to make more videos, but less knives will be in the videos. So it's a give and a take process, but let's go with it. So in this video I'm going to compare the Byrd Cara Cara 2 against the Spyderco Tenacious. I haven't had these knives in the same room together really for almost a year now, and I mean I think they're very similar in certain ways, but obviously the designs are different and they, you know, there's pluses and minuses to both. So first of all, they're both high value knives, sub $50. And it's such a pity to say $50 in the same room as a Spyderco Tenacious, but I live in Canada, so deal with it. That's how much it costs here. But anyways, yeah, they're both very high value knives from Spyderco. They're both made in China, and they both feature the blade steel 8CR13 MOV. Let's talk about the blade steel first. I really don't have a problem with it per se. I know that there's much better blade steels out there. They will hold their edge for longer, and you know, maybe they're tougher, or you know, whatever. The country that makes them is better. I think blade steel is like the most overrated thing in the world. There's only a small percentage of people that actually care about that. I know that there's a lot of people who are into knives, including myself, and it's very easy to buy into the hype of ZDP 189 and you know S30V. VG10, 154 CM, and all these like magical blade steels that are supposedly so much better. But it's truly a law of diminishing returns. And things like OS 8, 8CR13 MOV, and VG10, I think are completely sufficient for like 99% of people who will use knives. I actually bought a kitchen knife recently from... I know I'm going to screw this up, but the J. Heckle or something like that. It's like a really good knife company, and I'm sorry, I'm just winging it right now. But it did go dull, actually. I think it's like 440C or 440A or something that the blade steel is made out of. But it's very quick to touch it up. Like, sharpening is a pleasure, okay? And these two knives are a perfect example of that. It takes you like 5 minutes or less to sharpen the knives, and then they're good for weeks afterwards. So depending on how much cutting you do and the type of job, it's all good. But anyways, so those are where the knives are fairly similar. The country of manufacture, the manufacturer, and the steel. But they are different in other ways. So let's talk about weight first. The Byrd Cara Cara 2 FRN is 3.4 ounces versus the Spyderco Tenacious, which is 4.1 ounces. So the Byrd is lighter. And I think that that is probably due to the absence of full steel liners. It has partial steel liners, and I like the lighter weight. I like the slimmer package. The G10 model is actually 4.25 ounces, so it's a little heavier than the Tenacious, but you do get that extra blade length, so I think it's probably worth it in that respect. And on the subject of blade length, the Byrd Cara Cara 2 is 3 3/4 inches. Versus the Tenacious, which is a very kind of odd blade length actually, 3.39 inches, so just less than 3.5. What I will say though about the blade shape of the Tenacious is it's absolutely beautiful. That was the very first knife I bought, and the blade shape is just, I love that broad leaf blade from Spyderco. It's excellent. The Byrd Cara Cara 2 has more of a refined point on it. So I suppose for piercing or something along those lines, it would probably be better. Also, I will mention that the cutting edge, I don't have exact stats on this, but the Tenacious, it's exactly the blade length that goes all the way to the handle. The Byrd Cara Cara 2, it has that choke up choil there, which I really like, by the way, but that blade length truly is not the same as the cutting edge, of course. The cutting edge is probably very similar, actually. I'll try to line them up so you can see that better, but yeah, it looks like the cutting edge is actually pretty much identical without actually looking at the stats on that. But I do like that longer blade length. It's a bit of a slimmer blade, more of a spear point, I suppose, but I like it very much. Okay, so let's talk about the opening. They're both very fast knives, actually. I tend to prefer the liner lock just because it's a little smoother. But at this point, I don't mind the lock back at all. And check this out, okay? I'm just gonna press the lock down and the blade just drops. It swings freely, almost like a almost like a paramilitary 2 or something. Like this knife has seen a lot of wear and tear, and it's come through with shining colors. But anyways, it's just incredibly smooth after all this time. Like those parts have polished themselves so nicely. As far as blade centering goes, the Tenacious has had some issues actually, and this is probably my fault for not, getting into the whole like Loctite realm or whatever. But yeah, it tends to favor towards the right side, the left side, I guess, the non-clip side. I've actually adjusted it with Torx drivers just very recently now, so it's okay, but it will drift. That's not a tight lockup. It's okay once you tighten it down, but if you tighten it too much, it restricts the opening, and so on and so forth. The Byrd Cara Cara 2, by contrast, the pivot has required almost no maintenance whatsoever, and the blade centering is absolutely perfect. And this is, a very inexpensive knife. I've seen much more expensive knives have jacked up blade centering, so I'm very pleased with this. In terms of maintenance, this knife has required far less than the Tenacious. And that's probably something to do with the handle materials and the locking mechanism, but just thought I would bring it up. Okay, so the handle, this is, a major difference, obviously. I think that the opening hole and the handle are like where these things really diverge. A lot of people will just say, okay, the Byrd is not cool because it doesn't have the spider hole. And okay, I get that. I mean, the Tenacious is a legit Spyderco. The Byrd is a Byrd, it's not a Spyderco, exactly. But the FRN handle, something I will say about it, for all the like dissing that FRN gets, this has maintained its texture, its grippiness, 100%. It's exactly like the day that I bought it. And I actually have 2 more of these at home, like in box, because I like this knife so much. But yeah, it's absolutely perfect. There's been no wear and tear on that handle whatsoever. So it's extremely grippy. It does its job year after the fact. The Tenacious handle, by contrast, the G10, which everybody seems to love, and G10 is cool, I get it, but this is super smooth now. This is like 1200 grit sandpaper or something. Like, it's so smooth. It really does smooth out over time, as all G10 does, really. I even have the Cold Steel Recon 1, which is like 200 grit sandpaper when you get it, and it does smooth out a little bit, but this is super smooth. Like, there's like, it does lock in with all the jimping and all that, like it's still good, but let's be real, okay? Like, this handle does not have a lot of traction. Look at my thumb just sliding on it so easily. And let me go back to the Byrd just by contrast, okay? Slide the thumb, look at this. It's hard, man. It's slow, and it's painful to move your thumb across that. So, I know that G10 is preferred by like a lot of people, but FRN is pretty sweet, man. We shouldn't discount that. In certain knives like the Endura, the Dragonfly, the Delica, I struggle to find other cool FRN knives away from Spyderco, sadly. Even the Rat 1 is FRN, and I mean, it looks like G10. So that's a very versatile handle material, and I really like it. And it's held up better than the G10 in this case. Okay, so now let's talk about value. The Byrd Cara Cara 2, as you see it here, the FRN edition, costs about $27 where I am. In Canada, that is, because you can't buy this in Mexico, unfortunately. So 27 bucks for that knife. I think that's excellent value. I've had that knife for probably a year and a half now, ish, and it's held up perfectly. It's absolutely great. The Tenacious I've had for longer than that, so I mean, there is a bit more wear and tear going on there for sure. But that costs $50 now where I am. And welcome to the reality of Canadian knife buying. It's not as easy, it's not as economical as it is in the United States for sure. Get ready to pay 10 to 20 to 30% more in Canada for pretty much everything, even though in the very recent past the dollars have been at par. And I mean, right now I think the dollar's about 94 cents US or something like that. Very sad situation, but probably good in the long term. Anyhow, I know that the Tenacious is like $30 to $40 in the States, so we pay a lot more here for it. But yeah, I mean, the G10 Byrd, which I don't own actually, but I've heavily considered buying because I like the knife so much, it's about $44. So it's cheaper than the Tenacious, and it's superior in many ways. So now comes the question, which knife do I like better? And I am a little biased now because I haven't had contact with the Tenacious for a while. See my video about that. But I think I have to lean towards the Byrd. You know what I mean? It's a slimmer package. Let me close the knives so you can see like how slim and how thick they are or whatever. But in my opinion, the Byrd is definitely a slimmer package. It's lighter. There's a longer blade. The blade material is the same. It's a wash. The country of manufacture is a wash. The price for buying it is cheaper for the Byrd. So, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it really comes down to whether you want an authentic Spyderco or you want sort of a Spyderco beta version or something like that, like a different variation. If you took the Byrd hole out of there and put a Spyder hole and called it a Spyderco, the cool factor would be like off the charts. For 30 bucks, forget about it. So I love both the knives, but at this point in my knife journey, which is ongoing by the way, I have to say that I think the Byrd Cara Cara 2 has an edge. Certainly not in cool factor. Like that's the one, ace up the sleeve of the Tenacious. It is a cooler knife, no doubt. But in terms of value, blade length, weight, sort of durability, all these other things, I really think that the Byrd Cara Cara 2 comes out ahead. Let me know what you think in the comments. For some people it doesn't matter about value, efficiency, all that stuff. It's like cool factor is the most important thing, and I totally get that. I've bought knives just because I think they're cool. But let me know what you think, okay? Thanks very much for watching, and all the best.